Hi and welcome. This is Tom from Fallen Oak Drums. Today we'll be seeing the inside milling of my 16 by 16 oak floor tom. Let's join me out in the shop.
I guess the next thing to do is actually get started on the milling. Okay, time to adjust this thing so that it just sort of touches.
By the way, I'm using a 1/2 inch straight router bit for this milling job. I've been advised I should probably find a curved bit, like a cove bit or a bowl bit, but so far I haven't found one that is overall long enough to sort of work well with my router jig, but the search continues.
Alright. You can see that it is sort of touching there. Not on every one, but that should be good.
I'm using 3/4 inch, 10 threads per inch, all thread. So each time I turn the crank, it's advancing the router sled by 1/10 of an inch. So sometimes you'll see me rather aggressively doing 4 turns, sometimes 3 turns. One time I did 5 turns and it was too much, so I had to back up a little. But in any case, I suppose the fewer times you turn per round, the smoother cut you'll get. But, since it's the first pass, I'm kind of aggressive here. So near the end of the first pass here, you'll notice the router is laboring a little more. That's just the way it is with inside milling. You're starting to even out the thickness of the shell, so some parts of the shell are going to be thicker than others to start with. Once you get past the first round, it's a lot more even, and of course when you're done, it should be even all the way around and all the way through. After the first round, I like to check the thickness of the drum on opposing sides where the router has, in fact, rounded out a stave. And so that's what I'm doing here with my combination square. And I find that the results are very close, off by a hair. Nothing to be concerned with, so I don't need to make any adjustments to my jig. So a word about dust collection. I am attempting to collect dust with my 2 horsepower dust collection system, 4-inch hose. I have it affixed to the far side of the drum from the view here with a little cardboard shroud that I just kind of attach somehow. It's not really picking up a lot of the dust, obviously, as you can see, so I have to vacuum afterwards. But I'm hoping that it at least gets some of the finer dust, maybe keeps that out of the air. And I also have a dust filter on the ceiling, not shown, of course. Room for improvement here. I should have a crank that I can easily detach from the finished end of the rod and bring it back to the starting end of the rod. I'll get to that one of these days.
So a quick summary of this first run. It's rough. I was kind of aggressive on dragging the sled through and turning it, but that's okay because I'm going to take off more, and I'll be gentler as I go. But it's mostly round on the inside now. There aren't like big flat spots, so I guess I kind of had the router bit down pretty aggressively as well. Usually takes me a couple rounds to get to that. You will see on this side, particularly those the glue, where the excess glue where the staves are joined is still there. So that didn't get rounded out yet. And if I come up here, you can see that, yeah, there's still some flat spots in here. But that's all right. We'll take it a little bit at a time. The next thing I do usually, now I've got the router back to its starting position, is I set the 0 on this little gauge to where the clamp is, and I generally go down about, what is it? Not quite a 16th, 3/64ths, maybe a little shy. I did not loosen the clamp yet, so I turn the ring, loosen the clamp, and that falls into place. So now it's ready for the next run. I've drawn these lines, both sides, 1.5 inches in. These are going to be the width of my re-ring. And so I've already adjusted the router down 3/64ths. I think I'm going to be going for taking another, 2/16 off of the thickness in the middle here, leaving 7/16 as my re-ring thickness. And yeah, so I'll show you how I get that started. In this case, I'm going to move the router from this side to that side as I progress through the shell. And I found on the last drum I did, I got a much cleaner finish. I took a card scraper and scraped off all the fuzzy stuff that was left over from the router tracks, and it came out not too bad. Still needs sanding in there, but not too bad a finish for what I'm doing here. So let me get geared up. Get this started. What I have to do actually is I have to start the router and then drop it into place to start spinning, because obviously I can't start at the end and go in, otherwise I'd have a track through my re-ring.
What I meant to say is that first I lift up the router sled so that the bit is not making contact, and then I start the router, and then I drop it to a place beyond where I've marked for re-rings, so that I'm starting this cut somewhere in the middle of the drum, not where the re-rings are going to be.
Plug for safety.
So after I've got that initial cut for the inside of the drum beyond the re-rings, I sort of try to sneak up on those re-ring lines, and I'm pulling the sled more towards the camera than away from it, and adjusting the crank, which you can't see because it's out of the picture, just until I get my router bit to cut right up to close to that line, and I'll do the final cut on this side when I make my second pass.
One more round.
I didn't tape the second round of cutting the inner part of the drum up to the re-rings. I did another, just 2 rounds, both 3/64ths of an inch taken off each time. So that's 6/64ths or 3/32. So that's the difference between the re-ring and the rest of the body of the drum.
Well done. There's some minor bearing compression there, I guess. But all in all, we're good. A little bit closer look at the shell. I still get these stupid burn marks from the router bit that I've got to sand off. I'll use a card scraper on the inside of the drum first. I've already gone over it with a not very sharp card scraper. Got all the fuzzy stuff off, but it came out pretty well. I'm happy with the finish, and got a few more drums to do the inner milling on, and then I'll start worrying about finishing and bearing edges and all that good stuff.
That's it for this one. Please feel free to leave any comments or questions below, and I hope you got something out of this video, at least a little bit of enjoyment.